Okay. So, if you still remember mga anak yung topic natin before na one sample z-test, okay, ginagamit natin based dun sa definition niya. Ginagamit natin si one sample z-test kapag po yung sample size po natin is greater than or less than sa 30. Okay? Pero kapag po ang sample size naman po natin is less than 30 lang po, okay, ito po yung gagamitin natin, yung one sample t-test. Okay, so yun yung difference ng dalawa. So doon pa lang sa sample size mga anak, makikita na natin agad kung ano pong formula or kung ano po ba yung gagamitin po natin. Kung one sample z-test po ba or one sample t-test. Okay, so first example, yan. So the average family size in the Philippines was reported as 4.25. A random sample of families in a particular street resulted in the following family sizes: 5, 6, 7, 4, 3, 8, 2, and 9. At the level of significance of 0.10, thus the average family size more than the national average. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to do mga anak is to list all the given. So yun naman yung laging ginagawa natin kahit doon pa lang kay one sample z-test. So ito po lahat po ng given na makikita po natin dyan sa word problem. Okay? So we have the population mean which is 4.25. Ito po siya. May word na average, kaya po siya po yung population mean po natin. And then, yung sample size natin, bakit siya naging 8? Since naka-enumerate po kung ilang family sizes po yung given, so ika-count lang natin mga anak yung number ng values natin. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Therefore, the sample size po na meron tayo is 8. Okay? So, dito sa example number 1 mga anak, hindi given si sample mean, hindi rin given si sample standard deviation. So, may mga ganun pong instances pagdating po kay one sample t-test na kung saan hindi po given yung standard deviation, hindi rin po given yung sample mean. Kapag ganun po yung nangyari, babalikan lang natin mga anak yung dati nating topic na kung paano yung pagkuha ng sample mean at kung paano po yung pagkuha ng sample standard uh, deviation. Okay? Kay one sample z-test kasi kailangan dun din sa definition niya, di ba anak, kailangan yung standard deviation daw is known. So kailangan lagi siyang given. Pero pagdating dito kay one sample t-test, kahit hindi siya given, okay lang kasi pwede naman natin siyang hanapin later on. Okay? So yan lang po yung given na meron tayo. So since we already list all the given that we have, we will be proceeding on step number 1, which is stating the hypothesis, and then we're going to identify the claim. Okay? Ano ba yung gusto nating patunayan? Okay? So based po dito sa example number 1, dito po sa last sentence po niya, nakalagay po dito, at the level of significance of 0.10, thus the average family size more than the national average. So gumamit tayo ng salitang more than, and ang sign na ginagamit natin mga anak kapag more than is greater than. Okay? And base po doon mga anak sa table na pinakita ko sa inyo before during the introduction ng hypothesis testing, na kapag greater than po yung sign na gagamitin natin, it will fall on the alternative hypothesis. Okay? So the alternative hypothesis will be population mean is greater than to 4.25. And yan po yung kiniklaim po natin, na yung average family size daw po is more than the national average. The national average is 4.25, and let's see, okay, kung tama ba yung kiniklaim natin na mas malaki pa daw po yung average family size kaysa dun sa dineclare na national average. Okay? So sa pagkuha naman mga anak ng null hypothesis, so lagi lang naman yan silang dalawang inverse. So kung dito po kay alternative, we use the sign of greater than. Pagdating po kay null hypothesis, meron po tayong less than or equal to. Okay? Don't forget the equal to sign kasi po yan po yung indication na null hypothesis po siya. Okay? Kasi pagdating po kay null hypothesis, let me remind you that there will be no significance difference between the two population parameter. Okay? So yan yung step number 1 natin. So kailangan may identify na natin mga anak agad yung kiniklaim po natin ha. So on step number 2 naman po, okay, we will just going to identify the level of significance and also the degree of freedom. Dito kay one sample t-test, meron na tayong tinatawag na degree of freedom. If you're going to look on your table mga anak, yung color brown, yun po yung gagamitin natin for one sample t-test. Okay, meron po diyang nakalagay sa pang-apat na pang-apat na row sa first column, nakalagay po diyan DF. So yung DF po na yun po yung degree of freedom. And meron po tayong formula na gagamitin po para po dyan. So syempre una po, level of significance which is already given on the word problem, 0.10. And then the degree of freedom po, ito po yung formula na gagamitin natin. N minus 1. Yung N po natin is the sample size which is 8. So 8 minus 1, we will be having 7. So yung degree of freedom po natin mga anak dito is 7 po. Okay? So yan po yung formula na gagamitin natin ha, patandaan na lang po. And then on step number 3, we will be identifying the critical value. So let me remind you again mga anak, the critical value, this is the value wherein siya po yung separate on the normal curve po nung non-rejection region at saka yung rejection region. So yung critical value po, makikita po natin yan dyan sa table po natin. And based on the table po, ito po yung makukuha natin na critical value. Meron po tayong 1.415. Okay? And this value mga anak, or this example mga anak, is a one-tailed. Okay? Kasi po, yung ginamit po natin na sign, dito po sa hypothesis po natin, is less than or equal and then greater than. So kapag ganyan po kasing sign na ginagamit natin, automatic po one-tailed po siya. So sir, paano mo nakita yung 1.415 doon sa table? So if you're going to look on your table right now, ito po yung itsura niya. Okay? So already we identified na one-tailed siya because of the signs na ginamit po natin. Okay, kailangan alam din natin yung level of significance which is 0.10. And then yung degree of freedom mga anak, ayan po siya, yung 7. Okay? So, yan po, ayan po yung purpose ng mga numbers po dyan sa gilid po. Okay, yun yung degree of freedom. And then, same pa din naman po ng paggamit, pagtatapatin lang natin silang dalawa, and kung saan po sila magtatapat, yun po yung tinatawag natin na critical value. So, the critical value on this example, mga anak, I repeat, that is 1.415. Okay? Okay, after natin mahanap yung critical value, we will be proceeding on the computation po. Okay? Dito sa computation natin on the first example, tatlo po yung i-compute natin. Since hindi po given yung sample mean, hindi rin po given yung sample standard deviation. So, kailangan hanapin muna natin yun bago po tayo mag-proceed on finding the t-test computed po. Okay? So, babalikan lang natin yung mga inaral natin ng mga nakaraan. So, the sample mean is just the summation of the values divided on the number of values that we have. So ito po yung mga data na meron po tayo. So ipag-add lang natin yan and we will be having 44. And then the sample size, which is n, we have 8. So 44 divided to 8, meron po tayong sample mean na 5.5. For the standard deviation naman po mga anak, ganito po siya. Ito yung formula na gagamitin natin. Ang sabi sa formula, we're going to get the square root of the summation of the quantity of x minus sample mean squared divided to n minus 1. Okay? So, dito sa ginawa kong computation mga anak, dinire-diretso ko po siya. Okay? Pero kung babalikan natin yung topic natin before, na kung saan nag-generate tayo anak ng tables. Okay? Inisa-isa natin yung table para mas makita talaga natin yung movement ng mga numbers po and makita natin kung paano talaga siya kinuha, paano talaga kinuha yung summation nung x minus mean squared po. Okay? So, ganyan po yung gagawin natin. So, unang-una, each value, ito yung mga values natin. So, written din po yan sa taas kung ano po yung pagkakasunod-sunod. Ganun lang din po yung ginawa kong pagkakasunod-sunod po dito. Okay? So, all the values will be subtracted to the sample mean. And then, after po nun, i-squared po natin siya. And then, tsaka natin pagsasama-samahin lahat po nung data natin. Okay? Resulting of 42 divided to 7, and that is 2.45. Okay? So, sir, paano kapag hindi na kasi namin matandaan masyado yung sinasabi mong nag-generate tayo ng table? Okay? So, kung gusto niyo naman mga anak, pagdating dito sa computation kay standard deviation, kung gusto niyo mag-create ng table, okay lang naman po. So, ganito po yung gagawin natin. So, unang-una, kailangan meron tayong column for our x or yung mga values po na meron tayo. And then sabi dito, kailangan kuhain natin yung difference ni x minus the sample mean. So kailangan meron din po tayo nun. And then lastly po, kailangan naka-squared. Okay, yung difference po nila. So tatlong column po yung i-generate po natin para po mahanap po yung summation. Okay? So susulat ko lang po lahat ng excuse me. Susulat ko lang po lahat ng values na meron tayo, which is 5, 6, 7, 4, 3, 8, 2, and 9. Okay, so yan po yung x po natin. So isusubtract lang natin yan sa nakuha po natin na mean or the sample mean na 5.5. So 5.5 minus 5.5, we have negative 0.5. And then 6 minus 5.5, we have 0.5. So, ganun lang po yung gagawin nyo ha. Subtract lang po tayo ng subtract on the second column. And then 7 minus 5.5, we have 1.5. And then 4 minus 5.5, we have negative 1.5. 3 minus 5.5, we have negative 2.5. 8 minus 5.5, meron tayong positive 2.5. And then 2 minus 5.5, we have negative 3.5. And then for 9, we have positive 3.5. So yan po yung difference po natin. Okay, dito sa difference mga anak, okay lang po na magkaroon po tayo ng negative na answer. Pero kailangan pagdating po dito sa third column wherein mag-i-square root na po tayo, kailangan po lahat ng answer natin dito positive. It means yung summation po na makukuha po natin dapat is positive din po. Okay? So, iisa-isahin lang natin yan. So, 0.5 squared, meron tayong 0.25. So, 0.25 din para po sa pangalawa. So, 1.5 squared, meron tayong 2.25. So, ganun din po dito kay negative. Kasi, multiplying or parang negative multiply to negative po, it's positive. So, kailangan positive talaga lahat ng makikita po natin dyan. So, 2.5 squared naman po, we have 6.25. And then another 6.25. And then, lastly, last two, 3.5 squared. So, meron tayong 12.25. And then another 12.25. So, yan po lahat yon. And then, after natin mga anak matapos yan, kukuhain na natin ngayon yung summation na tinatawag natin. Ang gagawin lang po natin, ito pong third column natin, ipag-add lang po natin yan. Okay, so 0.25 plus 0.25 plus 2.25 plus 2.25, 6.25 plus 6.25, and then lastly, 12.25 plus 12.25, meron po tayong makukuha na 42. Okay? So, pareho lang naman po ng nakuha, either kahit anong way po yung gawin natin. If you're going to create a table like this one, okay lang po. Or kung gusto nyo dire-diretso, okay lang din po. Okay? Kung saan po tayo mas komportable or ano yung prefer natin, yun na lang po yung gawin natin. Okay? Kasi there is still the same answer pa rin naman po. Okay, so again, the standard deviation for this example is 2.45. Okay, and then since nakita na natin mga anak lahat, okay, meron na tayong population mean which is given, the sample size, okay, kakakompute lang natin ng sample mean, and then yung sample standard deviation, we can proceed now computing the t-test computed. Okay, the formula that we will be using is this one. Ang pinagkaiba lang niya mga anak sa one sample z-test is yung standard deviation. Kay one sample z-test kasi, for the population siya, dito naman mga anak, for sample lang siya. Okay, pero yung the rest, pareho lang naman po. Okay? So, substitute lang natin si 5.5 minus 4.25 divided to 2.45 divided to the square root of 8. So, we will be having an answer of 1.443. Okay, if you wanted to try it on your calculator, mga anak, okay, just follow the procedure na ginawa natin before dun kay one sample z-test. Make sure yung pag-input nyo ng parenthesis is precise. Kung saan lang siya dapat lagyan ng parenthesis, dun lang natin siya lalagyan. Okay? So, kapag po ginawa niyo sa sarili ninyo or on your own, kailangan po meron kayong makukuha na 1.443. Okay? Dito kay tTest computed mga anak, kailangan naka-round off siya into 3 decimal places. Kasi po, i-compare natin siya mamaya doon po sa critical value natin na kung saan yung critical value natin is naka-round off po siya into 3 decimal place length. Or hindi siya naka-round off, naka 3 decimal place po talaga siya based po dun sa table po na meron po tayo. Okay? So, meron na tayong step 4. So, step number 5, we're going to decide na po. Okay? So, decision making lang po tayo. Okay, if we're going to accept or we're going to reject the null hypothesis. So, syempre, ang ginagawa natin mga anak kapag sa step number 5 or kapag dating po sa decision making, kailangan po i-illustrate po natin para po mas makikita natin or para mas ma-visualize natin kung saan po magfo-fall yung t-test computed natin if nandun ba siya sa non-rejection region or nandun po sa rejection region. Okay, so ito po yung magiging itsura po ng normal curve natin. Okay? And then, yung nakuha nating t-test critical is 1.415. So, let's say nandito po siya banda. And then, ito pong right-tailed po niya is the rejection region. So, pag nandito po nag-fall yung t-test computed natin, automatic po we're going to reject the null hypothesis. So sabi ko sa inyo kanina, we're going to compare. Okay? So ito yung t-test natin, t-test computed. We have 1.443 and ito naman po yung critical value natin. So as you can see naman po na mas mataas yung t-test computed natin kumpara dito kay critical value. So it means it's greater than. So kapag greater than, ibig sabihin po mas mataas siya, so nandito po siya banda. Okay? So nandiyan po yung t-test computed po natin. And since nandiyan po or nag-fall po siya doon sa rejection region na tinatawag po natin, automatic po ang decision po natin will be reject the null hypothesis. Okay? Ulitin ko lang, pagdating sa decision making, ang i-accept, ang i-reject lang po is yung null hypothesis. Okay? So, yan na po. So, nireject na natin siya. So, on step number 6, pagdating sa conclusion, okay, kanya-kanya po tayong gawa doon. Pero on my part, ito po yung magiging conclusion ko. Okay? So, since we reject the null hypothesis, we can conclude that there is enough evidence to support the claim that the family size, that the average family size is more than 4.25. Ibig sabihin mga anak, yung kiniklaim natin kanina na alternative hypothesis na kung saan mas malaki daw yung average family size kaysa dun sa dineclare na national average na 4.25. So yan po yung entire computation on example number 1. Okay? Do you have question on example number 1? May tanong po ba kayo? Okay, mukhang wala naman. So let's proceed on example number 2. Oh, if you wanted to take a screenshot, you can do so, ha? Okay. Example number 2. So a researcher claims that 20-year-old women on a special diet will have an average weight of 110 pounds. A sample of 15 women has an average of 112.5 pounds and a standard deviation of 5 pounds. At a level of significance of 0.01, can the claim be rejected? Okay? So ang tanong, yung kiniklaim ba natin, pwede ba daw ma-reject? Okay? So syempre, bago tayo magkaroon ng conclusion, let's give first or let's write first all the given. Okay? On this example naman mga anak, lahat ng kailangan natin given na po. Okay? So we have the population mean, which is 110 pounds. The sample mean, which is 112.5 pounds. The standard deviation of 5 pounds. And then the sample size of 15 women. Okay? So yan po yung given po natin. Okay. Next, step number 1, stating the hypothesis and then identifying the claim. Okay? So meron tayong null and then we have the alternative. Okay, kailangan lang nating alamin mga anak kung anong sign yung gagamitin natin. And based here on example number 2, it says that a researcher claims that the 20-year-old women on a special diet will have will have an average weight of 110. So meron daw po siyang weight na 110 pounds. So ibig sabihin po nun, equal kay 110. So kapag equal, okay, kay null hypothesis po siya, and ito po yung kiniklaim po natin. Okay? So, hanapin lang natin yung inverse ng equal. So, kapag null is equal, pagdating kay alternative, we will be using not equal to 110. Okay? Step number 2, level of significance and then the degree of freedom. So, level of significance, it was already written on the word problem. It says here 0.01. The degree of freedom, we have the formula of n minus 1. So, substitute lang natin, 15 minus 1. So, we have 14 as the degree of freedom. Step number 3, we have the critical value. So, critical value, I need your help here. So, although I know already the answer, but I want you to cooperate with me. Kindly look on your table, mga anak, dun sa color brown. And then check po ninyo kung ano po yung magiging critical value. Okay? So, ito yung mga clue natin ha. So, since the sign is equal and not equal, dun siya sa two-tail. Okay, yung level of significance is 0.01. And then the degree of freedom is 14. So, yung tatlong yun yung titignan nyo dun sa table. And then once you find it, pagtapatin nyo lang po. And then tell me, you can open your microphone or if you wanted, you can type your answer. And then, yun na po yun. Okay? So, try nyo po mga anak. I'll give you a minute to look it on your table.
Sir,
Yes, Neil.
it's 2.977.
Okay. So, thank you so much, Neil. So, that is correct. We have 2.977. Okay, but, may but ako ha. It's not just 2.977. Okay, since two-tailed po siya, kapag two-tailed po, gusto ko po, pag ilalagay natin si critical value, meron po tayong makikita na positive and then negative sign. Okay, kasi po, both sides po kasi nung normal curve natin, meron po tayong critical region. So, kailangan identify natin na merong positive tsaka negative. But, kung one-tailed lang naman siya, kahit wala na po yung sign po. Okay, ang mahalaga lang po, I want you to exercise na kapag two-tailed siya, kailangan meron siyang positive and negative po. Okay? So, thank you so much. So, after ng step number 3, step number 4. Okay? On step number 4, we will be computing the t-test. Okay? So, again, ito pa rin po yung formula. So, I already teach you how to do it on your calculator. So, once I already input the data here, you can start na po. If you wanted to, kung meron naman na kayo dyan, pwede nyo na pong umpisahan. Okay, so the sample mean is 112.5 minus to 110 pounds divided po sa standard deviation na 5 all over the square root of 15. So, I'll give you 2 minutes to compute it using your calculator. Please, pag gagamit kayo ng parentheses, be precise. Again, kung saan lang po dapat, dun lang po siya. Okay? So, para dun sa mga magta-type sa calculator and wala po nung mga meeting na tinuro ko ito, so ganito po gagawin ninyo. So, you're going to put a parenthesis first and then input po yung 112.5 minus 110 and then close it. Click the division operation, put a parenthesis and then another open parenthesis, 5, then divide to the parenthesis po ng square root ng 15 and then closed it and another closed. So, kailangan po pareho lang po ng answer. Okay, so what will be your answer mga anak? Still the same if you want to talk or if you want to use your microphone. 1.936. Okay, thank you so much, Neil. How about the others? Do you have the same answer as Neil or did you get different answer? Okay. So the answer po dito is tama naman po si Neil. So we have 1.936. 1.936. So kailangan po, iyan po yung makukuha ninyo once po na nag-solve po kayo. Okay? And then, step number 5, we will be having the decision making. If we're going to reject or accept po. So first, we're going to draw a normal curve. Okay, both sides po, meron po tayong critical value. So we have 2.977 and then positive 2.977. So this will be the critical region or the rejection region, and then this is also. Okay? Ang nakuha natin na tTest computed is 1.936. And then yung value natin, since positive po yung tTest computed natin, dito po tayo magbe-base sa positive. So we have 2.977. Okay? So mas mababa naman po si tTest computed dito. So less than. So ibig sabihin po nun, nandito po si tTest computed. So since nandyan po siya nag-fall, okay, doon sa unshaded area, which is all we called also the non-rejection region, meaning po nun, we will accepting the null hypothesis. Okay? Pwedeng accept, pwede natin gamitin itong accept the null hypothesis. Pwede rin po yung word na do not reject. Okay? Pareho lang naman po yan ng ibig sabihin. Okay? So, since we did not or since we fail, kasi di ba kung babalikan ko yung hypothesis natin mga anak, ang kiniklaim natin dun is yung null hypothesis. And ang tanong dito is, can the claim be rejected? So, mare-reject ba daw ba yung kiniklaim natin? Okay, since we fail, okay, to reject the null hypothesis, we can conclude that there is not enough evidence to reject the claim that the average weight of women is 110 pounds. So, yun yung pwedeng natin gawing conclusion. But again, so depende nga po yan sa atin. Okay, as long naman po na tama naman po or yung main idea is nandun po sa sentence, okay, we're going to consider it. Since hindi po talaga pwedeng pare-pareho tayo ng conclusion kasi iba-iba naman tayo ng pananaw at iba-iba rin naman tayo mag-compose ng sentence. Okay? So again, pagdating sa conclusion, wala pong bearing as long po the main idea is there. So we're going to consider it as correct. Okay? So yan naman po yung example number 2. So do you have question mga anak? May question po ba kayo so far? Wala naman. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so let's proceed on my very last example. So example number 3. Okay, so one of the undersecretary of the Department of Labor and Employment claims that the average salary of a civil engineers is 18,000 pesos. A sample of 19 civil engineers salary has a mean of 17,350 and standard deviation of 1,230. Is there enough evidence to reject the undersecretary's claim at an alpha of 0.01? The big question here is there enough evidence to reject the undersecretary's claim? So, given, so we're going to list down. So the population mean here there's a word average. So that would be 18,000. The sample mean, since there's a word sample, so this is 17,350. The standard deviation is 1,230. And then the sample size is 19 civil engineers. Step number one, stating the null and then the alternative hypothesis. Okay? So ang sabi po dito, claims that the average salary of civil engineers is 18,000, is equal to 18,000. So the sign that we will be using is equal, and then kapag equal, nasa null hypothesis po siya, and ito po yung kiniklaim po natin, or yung kiniklaim nung one of the undersecretary ng DOLE. So inverse ng equal, we have not equal. So that would be our alternative hypothesis. Step number two, level of significance, degrees of freedom. Given na po sa level of significance with 0.01, degree of freedom, 19 minus 1 is equal to 18. Sir, bakit naging 19? That is n minus 1. The sample size is 19. Therefore, the answer for the degree of freedom is 18. Step number 3, identifying the critical value. Again, kindly look on your tables. Two-tailed siya since the sign is equal and not equal. The alpha is 0.01 and then the degree of freedom is 18. I'll give you a minute to look it on your table. Okay, anyone who already saw it on the table? What would be our critical value for this example? Again, two-tailed siya. The alpha is 0.01 and then the degree of freedom is 18. Any volunteers from your class? Okay, Neil said it's 2.878. Okay, that is correct. So we have 2.878. Again, since two-tailed, there will be positive and negative symbol. Okay? So after po nyan, syempre step number 4, computation na po tayo. So we're going to compute the t-test computed. So again, using this formula, so we have 17,350 subtracted to 18,000 divided sa 1,230 divided to the square root of 19. Again, please do so to your calculator. Solve din po tayo. So, pagka sa calculator, ganito po itsura niya. So, kailangan yung parenthesis po talaga ha. Huwag natin kakalimutan kung saan po natin siya ilalagay po. Okay, anyone who already have the answer for this example? anyone mga anak? Wala? Okay, so the answer po for tTest computed po dito, okay, is negative 2.303. I repeat, it's negative 2.303. So, kailangan ito rin po yung makukuha ninyo na tTest computed. And then, step number 5, decision making. Okay, illustration ng normal curve. Since equal, kailangan again both sides. Meron po tayo. So this is negative 2.878 and then positive 2.878. Ang nakuha natin na tTest computed is negative 2.303. And then since negative siya, dito tayo kay negative side, magbe-based. So yan yung i-compare po natin dito sa tTest computed. So we have negative 2.878. Okay? So ang mas mataas naman dyan is itong tTest computed kaya po greater than. So kapag greater than, nandito po si negative 2.303. So since nandyan po siya sa non-rejection region, we're going to accept the null hypothesis. Okay? And again, the question is, ang pinakatanong dito is there enough evidence to reject the undersecretary's claim? But based on the illustration and based on the decision, we will be accepting the claim of the undersecretary. Therefore, sa conclusion po, since we fail to reject the null hypothesis, we can conclude that the starting salary of the civil engineers is 18,000 pesos. Okay? So that will be all for example number 3. Do you have question, mga anak?